Hi everyone, Michael with Bad Goblin Games, here to go through a demo for Ages of Conflict. This particular demo is a sci-fi demo, so we're going to have some sci-fi vehicles and what have you in our battle. Though I want to point out that the mechanics that you're going to see in this demo are the same mechanics we use in World War II games, and that's because basically the style of fighting was really it's really the same. The weapons have changed a bit. The technology's changed a bit. Though we're still dealing with vehicles. We're still dealing with skirmish infantry. And so mechanically they are really the same. So let's go through a few things before we start the demo. First off, what you see here, we're basically still working through some of the, I guess I should say, as I'm recording this video, we are still working through some of the abilities and what have you, and weapons and their ranges and what have you with sci-fi World War II. So some of the stuff that you see here may change a bit by the time the final product comes around. As far as the miniatures we have, what you see here is a change in say the tactical unit size. When we're playing historicals and so fantasy and black powder, this is basically similar to what you would see as far as the smallest tactical unit size. So this base being equal to a company, and you can see it's a dense formation, right? They're all packed together, shoulder to shoulder. When we go to World War II and sci-fi, we're making the assumption that one, the tactical unit size is getting smaller, the smallest tactical unit size. So instead of that company, the smallest tactical unit size is now a platoon. And so 4 of these would equal a company. And you can issue orders. If these two platoons, if they're going to carry out the exact same order and they're in the same company, you can issue them one order and they can both operate off that same order. And that works perfectly fine if you can easily determine what company they're in. So if they're pretty close together, it's no problem. If one is here and one of them gets over here for some reason, you may want to issue them a different order just so you can easier keep track of who's gone. Similarly, even if they're in the same company and they're close by, if I want them to carry out 2 completely different actions, then I'll issue 2 different orders. But all that's pretty flexible. As far as when you're actually playing the game, you do have some options how you carry that stuff out. We're also making the assumption that when we go to World War II and sci-fi, that that infantry is by default they're skirmishing units. If I was playing a game of Ancients and I have this company out here, if I want to designate that they're skirmishers, I'm going to put this little skirmishing token next to them, just so I can remember that they're actually a skirmishing unit. We don't need to do that with World War II or sci-fi, just because we're making the assumption that these are skirmishing units. So the last thing I want to point out are the size of the miniatures that you see here. These are 6mm miniatures. Ages of Conflict doesn't really care about the miniature scale. We play with 2mm, we play with 6, 10, 15. We go up to 28mm miniatures for the games we play. Just kind of depending upon what we feel like doing. Maybe if I want to fight a battle with Romans and the only Romans I have are 28mm, then I'll use the 28mm miniatures. So it's really pretty flexible. It's really up to you as far as what miniatures you want to use. With all that said, when I'm doing World War II and sci-fi, since this is a big battle system, my preference is to go with smaller miniatures. So you see here 6mm miniatures, 3mm or 2mm are also good options. Maybe up to 10. I really wouldn't go any higher than that for World War II and sci-fi big battle, just because now if I'm doing that, then basically I have, say if I'm going 28mm, then I have one 28mm guy running around here and he represents say an entire platoon. And you can do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. It'll work just fine. it just may look a little awkward. So with that said, let's kind of talk about the armies real quick. On one side, we have basically what amounts to an array of tanks. We do have one rocket or missile launcher back here. We have one walker that kind of resembles something like a spider. On the other side, I'm just going to call them the other side because if you take a good look at them, it's pretty obvious that they might come from a particular battle from a particular popular movie. So this is just a battle we like to fight in sci-fi, and we have planned to do this a couple of conventions, and obviously with COVID going around, the opportunity to do conventions is pretty limited. So we've really just done this on our time. And if you go to our Facebook page, which you'll see a link to at the end of the video, you can see some pictures where we've carried this battle out a couple of times. So I'll stop talking. Let's get into the game. We're going to start with turn one. If you've watched the other videos, typically what I do is to go into some decent explanation early in the turns. As the game progresses, I go into less and less explanation as to why I'm doing certain things. So the first thing we do with every turn is to issue orders. You can see I already have these orders issued. They are issued face down just to conceal them from your opponent. And if you look at the tanks, or if you look at the infantry back here, you see I have, say, one order on, say, 2 tanks. Again, that's just because what I said earlier. I'm treating these as a single unit, and they're going to carry out the same action. And I'm going to keep them pretty close together so I can work off one order. So after we issue orders, we go into initiative. Initiative is based off your general's command. We're not using generals in this game because those are heroes, and I'm not using heroes right now just because we're trying to keep this a simple demo. So we're just going to make simple command checks, which are 2d10 for each side. What I'm looking for are successes. A success is a 6 or more. With command checks or initiative checks here, I should say, the more successes, the better. So I'm going to roll here. We have a 7 and a 10. That's 2 successes. Over here, we have a 4 and 8. That's only 1 success. Again, successes 6 or more. Since we have 2 successes here and 1 here, this side goes first. After initiative, we move into our reveal orders and movement phase. There's 2 things that happen here. So they go first, so they're going to pick a unit to activate. They're going to activate that unit by flipping the order token. If that token permits movement, then the unit moves now. So I flip this token, so this unit is now going to move. It has a move of 11. This is a really fast unit. With a charge order, it has a charge order. That means it can go up to its charge pace. And the charge pace is 3 times the unit's move. So it's going to move pretty quickly, or I should say it could move pretty quickly across the field, but I don't necessarily want to move it that far. So I'm just going to move it right here, and we'll move the order token with it. This is alternating actions. So after this side picks a unit to activate, now this side gets to activate a unit. All right, so I'm going to activate this unit. It also has charge orders, so it's going to move with charge. Its move is 7, so with charge it could go up to 21, and we're going to go pretty far up here. And I really don't need to move this far up. At this scale with sci-fi, we were pretty much in weapon range from the beginning of the game, so I don't really need to move up this far. One of the nice things about sci-fi in World War II is you can afford to put more, it may be actually helpful to put more, say, terrain on the table, because you do have more freedom of movement. You're using skirmishing guys. You're not going to have, say with ancients or historical rather, you might have something like this where you have maybe 3, say a small battalion, so you got 3 companies, and this can be a little challenging to maneuver around a lot of battle, or I'm sorry, around a lot of terrain. When you go to World War II and sci-fi, you're typically dealing with smaller, more maneuverable units. So you can afford to have a bit more terrain. And also that terrain helps to break up line of fire. So instead of having if none of this terrain was here, then it would be a free-for-all as far as everyone just kind of shooting back and forth. With the terrain kind of breaking up the line of sight, you have a bit more options as far as tactics and getting cover and what have you. So we'll go back to this side. These are really heavy walkers, so they're not quite as fast, but again, you can see he has a charge order, so he could move a good distance. He's just going to go up to here. I don't want to put him too far in advance of here, because really they don't have quite the maneuverability that these guys do. So he's basically here to help protect. All right, so we're going to go back over here. We're going to flip this one. He's going to go up a little bit. Now the infantry, their move is a 5. So when they're skirmishing, they can. When they're charging, they go up to 15. If you've seen or played or watched any of the other like historical or Black Powder or fantasy demos, what you've seen is that when you have these formed units, if this company, I should say, was to move at that charge pace and they don't come into contact with an enemy, there's a chance that unit becomes disorganized, right? Because this is a formed up unit. Skirmishing units like this, they don't have that same rule. So they can move up to that charge pace and they're not going to risk becoming disorganized. I mean, they're not in a particular formation per se as it is. So nothing really to lose. Okay, we'll go over here. We'll move up. He's just going to move up a little bit, not too much. And let's see. And we'll move the last unit over here, just their infantry. And now we'll go over, so they have a couple more units to activate than they do, and that's fine. So they've ran out of units to activate. That just means that this side they get a couple of activations in succession. That's no big deal. And we're going to go around here, and he's going to stay back here. So I'm going to activate him, but he's not going to move anywhere. I do want to point out that if you have a unit that has a order that permits movement, I can't flip that token and then choose to move the unit later in the turn. So when I flip that token, if I want to move the unit, I have to do it at that time. All right, so that's it for review orders of movement. We're going to go into combat now. Now, combat changes fairly drastically, I would say, with World War II and sci-fi. And let me show you some examples to better explain that. So let's go back to our ancients, Black Powder fantasy genre, to kind of give an example. So if I give this unit a charge order, that means it can move across the field at its quickest pace, its charge pace, though that charge order prevents the unit from casting any missiles it has. So if this unit has bows and I give a charge order and it moves, or if it doesn't move, if I give a charge order period, then when we get to combat, this unit is not permitted to cast its missiles. However, when we get to World War II and sci-fi, that changes. So the assumption when we get to World War II and sci-fi is that many of the vehicles have either multiple operators or they have some sort of mechanism, maybe it's automatic targeting or robotic targeting, whatever you want to call it, that does all the shooting. So if I take this tank here, for example, we're making the assumption that there's more than one operator in this tank. We have somebody who's driving the tank. We have somebody who's probably loading the weapon, just depending upon if it's World War II or sci-fi. There may be somebody else who's handling targeting. There may be somebody else who's handling actually firing the weapon. So we have multiple operators. So we're not dependent upon any single person, right? So what that means is we can separate the order from the weapon. So even if this tank has a charge order in it, we have it a charge order, it moves. Normally, again, if we're going back to, say, Ancients, if this unit had a charge order, it could not cast whatever missiles it has. Though with this, we have an ability called Independent Weapon. An Independent Weapon is an ability that's available in his Ancients and Fantasy and Black Powder, and you typically see it with stuff like chariots, maybe some really accomplished horse archers. Though when we get to World War II and sci-fi, it's just much more predominant. You're going to see it much more than you would with, say, Ancients and Ancients and Fantasy and Black Powder. So a lot of these vehicles, even though they're being given charge orders, you're still going to see them shooting, because most of them at this point have that Independent Weapon, a special ability. Okay, so combat goes in several phases. The first phase is first missiles. So what this means is any missile, typically what this is units that are explicitly given the first missiles order can cast their missiles. So again, when we go to World War II and sci-fi, since most of these weapons or vehicles have Independent Weapon, they don't explicitly have to be given that first missiles order, just depending upon the weapon. So basically the rule is, if this tank has, say, Independent Weapon, then its weapon will fire at as early as it can during the turn. Now, some of these still have what we call second missiles. So for example, these walkers, they have, they may have heavy energy cannons, which go in second missiles, just because we're saying it takes them a little bit longer for those weapons to charge up. So, all right, so we're going to go to first missiles. And again, even though none of these explicitly have first missiles, some of these still can shoot because of that Independent Weapon. So kind of a long-winded way of saying all that. But let's go to this one, because he has, he has a light energy cannon, which can shoot on first missiles. So everything here is pretty much going to be within range of everybody. We're just going to see if they're within short range. So he's going to take a shot at this cannon here. He is within a long range. So we make our attack. He attacks with a 3D10. These are medium cannons. Medium tanks. They have a defense of 10. Okay. Now these are heavy tanks. The energy cannons are heavy weapons, which means they can damage each other. So let me explain that again in a little bit more detail. So one thing that we say when we get to sci-fi and World War II, again, this is a multi-genre game, right? So the goal here is that you can really take any of these genres and play them together. So if we wanted to, we could put this unit of spears, I have them backwards, we could put this unit of spears up against, say, this tank. Though these infantrymen running up with their spears, those spears aren't going to do anything with that tank, because the tank is classified as heavy, whereas the spears are not. So if you have a vehicle that's heavy, the weapon, in order to damage it, must also have the heavy ability. So we can shoot this light energy cannon at this medium tank. The tank has a defense of 10 typically. The light energy cannon does have armor piercing of 5, so it's going to reduce its defense down to 5. So I'm going to roll 3 dice. The defense determines the target number. So my defense is now a 5 because of the armor piercing, so I need 5 or more. And each of these is individually determined for a success or failure. So the more successes I have, the better. So we're going to roll. I have a 1, a 6, and an 8. So 2 of these are 5. Oops, no, 2 of these are 5 or more. That means I have 2 successes. The tank must now make what's called a casualty check. So a casualty check is a command check that's 2d10. A lot of these vehicles, especially these tanks, are going to have an ability called toughness. Toughness gives you bonus dice. We're going to add 2 more dice to these tanks for its toughness check. So I'm rolling 4 dice. I only need 1 success. My target number here is 5 plus the number of successes that were achieved when attacking. I achieved 2 successes, so my target number here is a 7. So I only need 1 of these to be a 7, so there's a good chance I'm going to get that. And I actually only got 1 of them, and it was 1 of the toughness dice. So the 2 regular dice rolled a 4 and a 6, so that would be a failure, though 1 of the toughness dice gave me an 8, so that's a success. So the toughness dice saved that tank that time. So we're going to go ahead and remove this order because he's done activating. Again, alternating actions, so now we go back, we go to this side, and we're going to choose these tanks. So they're going to shoot back. These tanks have medium ballistic cannons, well within range, and they are at short range for the ballistic cannons. So at short range, typically they're rolling a 3d10, though at short range they are getting 2 bonus dice. So now we're rolling 5 dice. These attack individually. So he's going to attack, I'm sorry, this tank is going to attack, and then this tank will make an attack. The ballistic cannon at this range has a very high armor piercing capability of 7. That's going to reduce the armor of this walker down to 2, so not much here. So I only need 2s, and I got 4 successes out of that. So he's going to make his casualty check in 2, but he does have 1 dice of toughness. So I need 1 of these to be a 9 or more. So, and I get that number, that my casualty check is a 9 or more because that's 5 plus the number of successes I achieved when I attacked. So I roll. 1 is a success. I got 1 9. That's all I needed. The second tank attacks. I got 5 successes that time. So now I needed 10 for this casualty check. And I did not get it. So this is a failure. I rolled a 2, 4, and a 7. I needed a 10. Now when we're attacking, there are kind of, when a unit fails a casualty check, there are kind of 2 different types of failures you can achieve. You can achieve what you could call just like a normal failure, at which point that unit receives a break token. And a break token is just a measure of several factors: fatigue, stress, loss of morale, injuries, that sort of thing. So if this were, say, a normal failure, then that unit would just receive a break token. However, all these weapons have a kill number associated with them. The more lethal the weapon, the higher that kill number. So the kill number for these cannons is a 4. So if a unit fails its casualty check and at least 1 of the dice is equal to or lower than that kill number, then that is actually a casualty. And you can see here I rolled a 2 and a 4. Since the kill numbers are 4, that is not only a failure, that's actually a casualty. So that means this unit is picked up off the table and is gone. All right, so that was both these cannons. I'm sorry, both those tanks. So we're going to go over here. Now these heavy walkers here, they have a couple of weapons available to them. They have a light energy cannon and a heavy energy cannon. The heavy energy cannon cannot go off until second missile. However, the light energy cannon can shoot now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So he's going to take a shot at one of these tanks. And that's going to be long range for that energy cannon. So it's going to be 3d10. So it's going to be 3d10 for the attack. The tank, their defense is normally a 10, but that energy cannon has an armor piercing of 5, and so it reduces their defense down to 5. So right now, the way we're doing, say, the difference between energy cannons and ballistic cannons is that the ballistic cannons are typically going to have a longer range, though the energy cannons are typically going to have more sustained armor piercing. So their armor piercing is really the same no matter if it's at long range or at short range. Whereas the ballistic cannons, their armor piercing is dropping maybe fairly significantly between, say, short range and long range. So normally their defense is a 10. The light energy cannon has an armor piercing of 5, which reduces the defense to 5. That means my target number to attack is a 5. So I roll. That's 3 successes. So the medium tank must now make a casualty check. My target number, since I got 3 successes, my casualty check number, my target number is an 8. So I'm rolling 4 dice. I get 2 dice for toughness here. So we're going to make a roll. And there we go. There's a couple of successes there. So that tank survives that attack. No issue. So the next unit I'm going to activate over here is this tank with rockets or missiles. Now this doesn't really have line of sight. I'm going to target this heavy walker. This does not have direct line of sight to this heavy walker. Now, normally, say if we're playing Ancients and this was maybe a howitzer, or maybe black powder might be a better time frame for that. Say this is a howitzer, you could use in direct fire, though you would have, the target would get a bonus to its defense. When we go to World War II and sci-fi, we have basically a forward observer mechanic. So if you have a friendly unit that does have line of sight to the target, then your target does not receive as much of a defensive bonus. Typically, it's the target will get a +3 to its defense. In this case, since we have a friendly unit with line of sight, then I can use that in direct fire, and the target is only going to get a +1 to its defense. So there is no bonus to attack with the rockets. So I'm rolling 3 dice. The heavy walker here has it's really heavily armored, so it has a defense of 12, though the rockets have exceptional armor piercing, so it goes down to a 6. It does get its indirect fire bonus. So at the end, its defense ends up being a 7. So I need 7s to hit. These are going to be very difficult to take out of the game. So let's roll. Well, that's a good roll. That's 3 hits, 7, 7, and an 8. I'm going to make my casualty check. This is one of the tougher units you're going to find in the game, regardless of the genre. We're giving it right now a toughness of 4, so it's rolling a lot of dice, and my target number is only an 8. So this is going to be an exceptionally difficult vehicle to take out. Out of all that, I only did get 2 successes, but that's all I needed. Only needed 1, so it passed. So those rockets, they were ineffective. So we'll take that order off. We'll go back here, and we're still in our first missiles phase technically. So this heavy walker, actually I'm going to put this back on because I should not have taken that off. This heavy walker is going to fire its light energy cannon at these tanks. These are heavy tanks. So I'm rolling 3 dice to attack. Their defense is a 10. But the light energy cannon reduces that by 5. So again, I need 5s. I have 2 successes. I roll a 5 and a 10. A 10 when you're attacking is a critical hit. So what that means is this unit automatically receives a break token regardless of the result of the casualty check. And since these are considered one unit, this break token belongs to the entire unit. So it's really affecting both tanks in this circumstance. All right, so I'm going to make my casualty check here. My target number is a 7 because I have two successes. The tank does have a toughness of 3, so I need one of these to be a 7. And that's all I got was one of those. Again, one of the toughness dice saved it. That's the only one that resulted in a 7 or more. They are going to they're going to shoot back at the heavy walker. They have heavy ballistic cannons, so it's a extremely powerful weapon. They're well within short range. They're going to get 2 bonus dice to their attack, so they're going to get 5 dice. He has a defense of 12. The heavy ballistic cannon reduces that by 9, so it's reducing it significantly. So I only need 3s to hit, and that is 5 successes. So I need a 10 on my casualty check. And there we go. I got 110. So that attack was ineffective. The second tank, well, there's a 10. So that's an automatic break point on the heavy walker. And I got four successes out of that. So my target number 9 is a 9 for my casualty check. And there we go. Got a couple 10s in there. So they are done. All right, we're going to go back over here. And actually, that's it for right now for first missiles for this side. The infantry cannot go on first missiles. They do have another weapon. These heavy walkers do have another weapon, but it goes off on second missiles, and we're not at that phase just yet. So let me check over here to see if I can do anything else over here. And we're going to say he cannot draw a line of sight because of this terrain. Same thing for this tank. And I think that's probably going to be... Yeah, that's close, but we're going to allow it over here. So we're going to say he can target here. So with this little light tank over here, can target the walker. He's probably not going to do too much. So he does have a light ballistic cannon that's going to be at long range. So he's going to get a +1 to his dice. His armor is being reduced down to a 7, so I need 7s. And there's 3 successes. So my casualty check number is an 8. And remember, casualty checks are 5 plus the number of successes you have when you attacked. And we have several of them in there. So he took that shot with no problem. All right, so that's going to be it for first missiles. The next phase are units with march orders that have missile weapons. You're almost never going to see this with vehicles when we get to World War II and sci-fi. I could have given march orders to these infantry units, and if I had done so, they would be able to shoot now. Though I gave them charge instead because I was trying to get them up as quick as possible. So nothing with march. We go to hand-to-hand. Again, you're probably not going to see a lot of hand-to-hand in World War II and sci-fi. We have none here. So we go to the last phase, which is second missiles. So second missiles is used for weapons that take either longer to reload or get ready. So if we're talking, say, ancients or black powder or fantasy, these would be, say, muskets. These would be cannons, heavy crossbows that require that crank. In this case, for World War II and sci-fi, so for these, I guess in particular, these have heavy energy cannons. So we're saying that those heavy energy cannons require second missiles, just because we're saying it takes them a little bit longer to charge up to get ready. So we're not keeping track of reloads or anything like that. If it's a slower weapon, then instead of having, you shoot this turn, the next turn you can't shoot because you have to reload. Instead, we're just saying, okay, you can shoot every turn, you're just shooting later on in the turn. And there's a chance that that unit may get destroyed before it actually gets a chance to shoot. So that's how we're handling slower weapons, or weapons that you might typically, say, lose a turn because they need to reload. So let's go on to second missiles. So I'm going to go here. He's going to shoot his heavy energy cannon at these tanks. The heavy energy cannon, that should be, yep, that is within short range. So that's 3 dice, gets 2 bonus dice for short range. So I'm rolling 5 dice. Now these heavy tanks have a defense of 10. However, the armor piercing is reducing that by 9. Now the defense can't go below a 2. That's its base defense, so it can't actually go any lower than that. So I only need 2s to successfully hit this tank. All right, so I only needed 2s. I got 4 successes out of that. The heavy tank does have toughness of 3, so I'm rolling 5 dice, and my target number here is a 9. And no successes. I only needed 1 of those to be a 9, and I got none. So that's not a kill, though, because I did roll higher than the weapon's kill number. So that's just another break token on those tanks. All right, so let's go over to this little spider walker here. He also has a heavy energy cannon. I'm going to just take that border off since he is done. He's going to target this heavy walker here, and it's within short range. Now, tactically, here's where you have to make some decision makings during the game. The smarter, so this player has 2 units he can activate on second missiles. This player only has 1 unit. That walker can target this one. So the smarter decision, what I should have done a moment ago, instead of shooting with this walker first, I should have shot with this walker first. Because there was a chance I could actually take this spider walker out before it gets a chance to shoot. I didn't do that. That wasn't a smart decision on my part. So let's see what happens here. So he's going to target, the spider walker is going to target this heavy walker here. That is within short range. So he is rolling 5 dice. His armor is being reduced down to a 3. So I only need 3s. And not a real good roll, actually. I only have 3 successes out of that. So these are failures. That's not a real good roll. But I did get some 10s. Now, I did roll 2 10s. That doesn't mean 2 criticals. It's still only 1 critical, so one break token on him. Now here comes his toughness check, or his casualty check, rather. So I only need an 8. Well, so that's not a good roll. I only needed an 8. None of these achieved that success. So that's a pretty poor roll on my part. Though it is higher than the kill number. The kill number is a 4. So since that's a 5, I didn't actually kill the walker. I just gave him another break token. So that was real close to a one shot. All right, so he's going to shoot right back at that walker with his heavy energy cannon. So this is going to be short range. His armor is being reduced down. He's not as heavily armored as he is. So his armor is being reduced down to a 2. There's a 10. That's an automatic breakpoint. And that's 5 successes. So my casualty check is a 10. I need 10s here. Right, at least a 10, I should say. And there we go. There's a 10. So he passed that successfully. Okay, so that is it for combat. Like, we're going to go into the end turn phase. Few things happen here. We take up any orders that are left on the board. It's kind of a cleanup phase. Next up, we're going to give units a chance to remove breakpoints. So this is basically a rally mechanic. So each unit that has a break token is going to make a command check. Each success allows you to remove 1 token. So we're going to start here. 3 and a 6, that's 1 success. So he removes his break token. This walker removes both with an 8 and a 9. We're going to go to these tanks. 2 8s, so they remove theirs. And this spider walker. And he removes his with a 9 and a 10. So everyone removed all their break tokens. You typically don't see that. Usually you're going to get a couple of failures in there, but that was just an exceptionally good round there. So that's the end of turn 1. Let's go into turn 2. We're starting turn 2. I have all the orders issued. There's really not a great deal of mystery when we go to World War II and sci-fi when we have when we have predominantly vehicles on the board. If there's a lot more infantry, there'd be a little more mystery as far as what orders are actually being issued. Well, we're in a game where it's mostly tanks and sci-fi walkers with that independent weapon special ability. There's not a lot of mystery as to actually what orders are being issued. So really what it comes down to is thinking about the actual sequence in which you're going to activate your unit. So going back to this example, I really made the wrong decision. I should have shot with this one first instead of that one, because there was a chance he could have got blown up before he actually fired his cannon. So not so much having to guess what order your opponent is issuing. I guess you're not really having to guess what order your opponent is issuing to his or her units. What you're really doing at this point is trying to activate your units in the best sequence possible. So let's go ahead and roll initiative. 2 successes with an 8 and a 7, 1 success with a 6 and a 3. So we're going first over here. We will activate this walker. He's going to trudge forward a bit. He's really trying to get in short range with that heavy energy cannon. I mean, he can shoot them just fine back here, but that energy cannon is going to be more effective at that shorter range. The tanks, on the other hand, are not going to move. They are well within range. He is going to move forward. Or sorry, this walker, I should say, is going to move forward a little bit. Same thing with these tanks. They are not going to move. The infantry, they're going to scurry ahead a bit. These tanks are going to get into a little better position here. They're not very fast. but we want to get them up there where they can at least try to pour some firepower onto this walker. Go over here. They're going to take some cover behind that building. He is not going to move. So they have no more activation, so it's really just down to the tanks at this point. This one's not going to move. And these light tanks, they're going to move to try to deal with this infantry. All right, that is it for reveal orders and movement. We're going to go into combat. So again, we're in first missiles now. So we don't have any first missiles that are explicitly issued. So, but we do have all the independent weapons going on. So we're going to take care of those now. So the walker here, he's going to use his light energy cannon to target those tanks, those heavy tanks. Let's grab my dice. He's going to be at long range. I'm sorry, yeah, yep, long range. Short range, but that light energy cannon is pretty. He's almost there, but yeah, he's at long range. He's going to get 1 bonus dice with that, and their armor is being, or sorry, their defense is being reduced down to a 5. Normally, I like to roll in a dice tray for all this stuff, though with the confined space we're doing this demo, there's not really much room for a dice tray, so I'm trying to find room where I can here. So I needed a 5. I rolled a 1, 2, and a 3, and a 6. That's only 1 success, so it's not a very good roll there. So his casualty check for the tank is only a 6. So there we go. There's a success. So that tank passed the casualty check, no problem. I'm going to go over here. They're going to fire their cannon right back at the heavy walker. They have heavy ballistic cannons. So they get 3 dice. They are well within short range. They're going to get 2 bonus dice. His armor, or sorry, his defense is being reduced down to a 3. That's really not a good roll again. I did get 1 critical, so it's an automatic break, but I still only rolled a 1, 2, a 3, 5, and a 10. So that's only, I would have expected 4 or 5 successes out of that. I only got 3. So my casualty check, his casualty check, or I should say this walker's casualty check, is an 8. There we go. Not a very good roll here, but it's good enough. So we passed that. The second tank shoots. Again, not a very good roll because there's 2 2s, so that's 3 more successes, so I need an 8. And only 1 success out of that, a 9. But that's all I needed. So he survives that barrage. He will shoot his light energy cannon. I don't know why I keep saying his or her like they're actually like people. This walker will shoot its light energy cannon. That's going to be, should be within short range. Just double check. Just barely so. So at short range, it's going to get 2 bonus dice. So I got 5s. These are medium tanks. So their armor is being reduced down to 5. Their defense, rather. It's 4 successes. That means my casualty check is a 9. They do have toughness, so they get a couple bonus dice from that. And no successes. I rolled 2 3s, a 4, and a 6. So we get a break point there. Not a kill, because I did roll higher than the kill number. So just a break point. Let's see, he got knocked aside. They're going to shoot. They're going to shoot. They're going to shoot there. They're going to target the infantry over here. They have a better chance of taking out the infantry than they do that walker. All right, so they're going to be at short range. Yes, they're going to be at short range. So they get two bonus dice with their light ballistic cannon. The infantry is not, it's infantry. They do have some armor, though it's nothing really all that special. So their armor is being reduced down to a 2. So that's 5 successes. Because this is infantry, they don't have this toughness special ability. So they're only rolling 2 dice for their casualty check, and I need 10s. That's a failure, and that light ballistic cannon, the kill number is a 4. So I rolled a 1 and a 4. So one of these bases of infantry is removed. The other tank shoots, and that's 5 successes again. So I need a 10. Oh, there we go, 10. Okay. Now he was removed. He was removed. He was removed from the game due to a casualty. We have a friendly unit that has line of sight and within 10 centimeters of that. So we don't really have a chain routing mechanic in place. We did at one point, but we kind of got rid of it. So what he has to do, since he saw since this unit saw a friendly unit within 10 centimeters and with a line of sight, he saw that unit get removed from the game. This unit this stand must make a command check. So this is a 2d10, and I need 6s. If this unit fails the command check, it will receive 2 breakpoints. So I rolled a 3 and a 5. So that's a failure. So we're putting 2 break tokens on this unit. What that means is because this platoon saw a friendly platoon, it's a combination. It doesn't necessarily mean they were all annihilated, though the tank inflicted enough damage to the point where this platoon was no longer effective. So it was basically out of the game. We just remove it. This friendly unit or platoon saw that, and that has morale consequences in the game. So it made its command check. It failed. It gets 2 break tokens. So every break token you get, or every break token that a unit receives, inches that unit closer and closer to either falling back or itself routing from the game. So, all right, and we'll get to that again when we get to the end turn phase. All right, they are done. No one else over here is activating in first missile, so we're just going to take care of everyone else over here. So we have 2. We'll go over here. We have 2 heavy tanks that are going to target the heavy walker. The defense is being reduced down to a 3. And my bad rolling continues. I rolled 2 1s, a 3, and 2 4s. So 2 successes, but still an exceptionally bad roll, considering I only needed 3s. So my casualty check number is an 8. And I failed. There is not 1 8 in that roll. So he gets a break token. I only needed 1 8, and he got none. I'm going to use a different color than white. White kind of blends in with the base a bit too much. All right, so the second tank over here shoots. Well, that's better. That's 5 successes that time. So I need a 10 on the casualty check. and no 10s. So that is another break token. I'm going to go to these 2 medium tanks. They are well within short range, so they are rolling 5 dice to attack. His armor is reduced down, or his defense is reduced down to a 5, so I need 5s. There's a 10, so that's an automatic break token, and that's 4 successes overall. So my casualty check number is a 9. And there's 1 success. That's all I needed. So he survives that shot. And we have 1 more tank over here. Well, that was a really bad roll again. Only 1 success out of all that. Statistically, I probably should have had 3 or 4. Not my best day of rolling thus far. So I only need a 6. And wow, I only got 1 6 out of all that. That's pretty bad, but it was enough. Barely. Oops. Wrong thing. All right, so that is it for first missiles. There's no march. I'm sorry. Oh, no, we got 1 more back here. Sorry, we do have 1 more back here. He has his rockets. So his rockets are going to take a shot over here. So that's 3 dice. His armor is being reduced. It's an effective 7 at this point. And 1 success. So we have my target number, my casualty check is a 6. There we go. He passed the casualty check. Okay, now we're going to march. No march. There's no hand-to-hand. We go to second missiles. So I'm not going to make the same mistake I did last time. Since they have initiative, they activate first. He's going, or say this walker is going to take a shot at this spider walker. And I believe, yeah, oh yeah, yep. That is well within short range. So we've got 5 dice. Armor is reduced down to a 2. So we got 5 successes out of that. Means his casualty check is a 10. And there's a 10, so he passed. He will shoot back at the heavy walker with his heavy energy cannon. And I need 3s. And another bad roll. 2 1s and a 2. So it's only 2 successes. So I need a 7. Only one of them got it. Only one success out of all that. So, but it was enough. That was enough. And last up, we have this heavy walker. He will shoot at these heavy tanks. He has moved up to short range with his heavy energy cannon. So their defense is reduced down to an effective 2. So that's 4 successes. Means I need a 9 on my casualty check. Oh, we got several of them there, so it was a good roll. So they passed. All right, that is it for combat. We're going to go into the in-turn phase. So we're going to take up our whatever orders we have left sitting on the table. And we're going to go to rally. So we're going to start over here. This tank unit will attempt to rally. They do. This heavy walker, they do. They only had 1. That's all they needed to get rid of it. This heavy walker, you remove 1. Now this infantry here. So every unit you see here on the table has a presence score. It's a combination of several factors. It's intimidation, stamina, but kind of like staying power on the field. this unit of infantry, their presence is only a 1. So the way it works with break tokens is that a unit can have up to its presence in break tokens. If they have more than that in the end turn phase, and that unit is either going to fall back or rout. They do get a chance to try to rally first. So they have 2. Now their presence is only a 1, so I need to remove at least one of these break tokens. And I do not. I rolled a 2 and a 4, so they failed their rally, and they are over their present. Basically, their break. They have more break tokens than their presence. So I'll make another casualty check at this point. If I pass, the unit falls back. If I fail, they rout from the table completely. And I failed. I rolled a 1 and a 3. So this unit broke and is gone. So a couple of things here you can see with breakpoints. What I like to do, obviously, is just you can kind of see it. I'm trying to pour as much sustained fire as I can on a single unit at a time. Basically trying to get to accumulate those breakpoints. So this heavy walker, this unit is going into the next turn already having 2 breakpoints. Its presence is a 4. So my goal is to try to get at least 3 more break tokens on this walker during the course of the next turn. If I can do that, there's a possibility that this heavy walker will be removed from the game. So that's it for turn 2. Let's go into turn 3. We're going to start turn 3. I already have orders issued, so let's go into initiative. 7 and 1, 1 success, an 8 and a 10, 2 successes. This side is going first. So we're going to go to reveal orders and movement. Probably not going to be much movement going on this turn. They aren't going to move. This walker is not going to move. Same. No movement. The infantry here, I did give them march orders, so now they are going to move a bit. They can go on march orders. They can go up to their quick pace over smooth ground, and this is what we call smooth ground. So they're going to move over a little bit and see if they can take out some tanks. They have no one else to activate. No one else is really moving. All right, so that's it for reveal orders and movement. Let's go on to combat. First, missiles, which is really going to be most of these tanks and their light energy cannons. So we'll just start here with these heavy tanks with their heavy ballistic cannons. They're going to shoot at the walker here, reducing the defense down to a 3. That's 4 successes. So casualty check is a 9. 1 9. That's all I needed. The second tank will shoot. There's a 10, so that's an automatic break. And 4 successes. So I need a 9. And there's a 10, so he passed. He will shoot back with his light energy cannon. That's going to get 2 bonus dice at that range. No, I'm sorry, that's long range for the light energy cannon, so he's going to get 1 bonus dice. So he's going to roll 4 dice, and the armor is being reduced to a 5. Only 1 success, but that success is a 10, so that's an automatic break. Oops. I keep knocking things around everywhere. I only need a 6 for my casualty check, and passed. medium tanks will shoot at this walker. So my goal here is to put as much firepower as I can on this walker to see if we can get it to accumulate those breakpoints. So well within short range. And armor is being reduced down to 5. Nope, there's a 10, so that's 1 automatic break. Only 2 successes overall, though. So casualty check is a 7. Well, only 1 dice got it, but that's all you needed was 1. The second cannon, 2 successes. So my casualty check, again, is a 7. Couple successes there. So they are done. He will shoot the light energy cannon back. And I don't recall if that's short range. Yeah, it is. So their armor is being reduced to a 5. There's a 10. That's an automatic break on them. And 3 successes overall. So I need 8. Yep, passed. So these tanks are going to go next. So they're both going to shoot their ballistic cannons. They're heavy tanks, so they're going to shoot their heavy ballistic cannons at the walker. That is short range. Defense is reduced down to a 3. Got 3 successes. So my casualty check number is a 9. Yep, and there we got several 10s in there. So that first shot did nothing. The second tank, there's a 10. That's an automatic break. And I got 4 successes out of that. So I need a 9 on the casualty check. 1 success, that's all I needed. So it has 4 breakpoints. Presence is a 4. So this walker is... took the wrong one off here earlier. Oh, that's right. So it's okay. But if it does get 1 more, then in this in turn phase, it may up and flee. So we'll see what happens. Now these light tanks have a choice. They can continue pouring some firepower on the heavy walker, or it can target the infantry. The chance of those ballistic cannons doing anything are slim. But I'm going to do it anyway just because I'm so close to actually getting it above its breakpoint. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Probably not the smartest decision, but let's see what happens. So armor is a 7, being reduced down to a 7, I should say. We have 2 successes. So I need a 7. Here we go. And really my goal here more than anything isn't necessarily to get enough successes for this thing to fail its casualty check. I'm hoping for criticals. I'm hoping for 10. That's really the main goal here. There we go, a 10. Only 1 success, but that 1 success was a 10. So here's my casualty check. Past that. Only needed a 6. I got several of those. That is it for first missiles. We're going to go to March. And this infantry, they do have march orders, so they can go ahead and shoot. So they're gonna both shoot at these light tanks. They have energy rifles, so they're going to be at long range for those energy rifles. So that's 3 dice to attack. Their defense is being reduced down. Actually, you know what? Sorry, let me take that back. Almost made a mistake here. These tanks are are classified as heavy vehicles, whereas these light energy rifles are not heavy weapons. So they actually cannot damage these tanks. These are heavy vehicles. Their weapons are not, they only have heavy energy rifles, so they actually cannot damage those vehicles. So they're basically running around here just effectively doing nothing, or being targets, I guess I should say. So I'm going to take the orders off. So we're going to go to, that's it for March. I forgot him again. I'm going to go ahead and shoot with him. I keep forgetting. I leave this guy back here, and I keep forgetting to shoot with him. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So he's going to shoot his rockets at this heavy walker. His defense is being reduced down to a 6. That's 2 successes, including a critical. So that's an automatic break token. And I need a 7 on the casualty check. And I got it. Okay, I got to quit forgetting about him. So speaking of forgetting about it, if you forget to activate a unit, it's really up to your opponent as to whether or not you can go back and activate that unit. So he was supposed to go in first missiles, and we passed the first missiles phase. We had gone on past March. We were really about to go into second missiles. So if I was playing with an actual opponent, I could have just said, well, too bad, you don't actually get to shoot with them. But because I'm nice to myself, I went ahead and allowed myself to do it. So we're going to go on to second missiles now. They have initiative. So this Spider Walker will shoot at the heavy walker here. So he has 6 break tokens at this point. So he is above his break value. If I can get one more on there, then I am guaranteed at the end of this turn that he's still going to be above his break point. So let's see what we can do here. Armor is reduced, or his defense is reduced down to a 3. Oh, there we go. There's a 10. So that's an automatic break point. And I got 3 successes. So his casualty check here is an 8. And he passed that with no problem. So he's done. He's going to take a shot. This walker is going to take a shot at these at the cannons here. I'm sorry, at these tanks. Their defense is being reduced down to a 2. There's a break point. But that's a really bad roll. I rolled 3 1s out of all that. So still only 2 successes. So I need a 7 on the casualty check, and I got it with 1 dice. So that's it for this walker. This walker will shoot its heavy energy cannon at the heavy tanks. Defense again is being reduced down to a 2. 3 successes. So my casualty check is an 8, and there's a 10. So it passed. That is it for second missiles. Go to the end turn, take off orders. Let's make our rallies. So these tanks here are going to get a chance to remove their break token. They do not. I rolled a 1 and a 3. Let's see if they can remove some of theirs. Their breakpoint value, each tank is a presence of 3. So they have a total break value of 6. So they're still well under. They do remove 1. We're going to go to this walker first. He only has 1, and that is gone. So this walker, there's no way this walker is going to be able to get to remove sufficient breakpoints. So we're going to see how many we can get rid of. We got rid of 1. So a 2. I rolled a 2 and a 7. So it's still above its presence. Now, at the moment, again, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, There may be some things we change mechanics-wise when we're doing sci-fi and World War II. This is one area we're still kind of going back and forth on. So if you have any suggestions or comments here, this might be a good spot. So when we're dealing with these heavy vehicles, tanks, these heavy walkers, not talking guys on motorcycles or an open jeeps. We're talking about vehicles that provide a good amount of protection. The inclination here is to say that if they fail, so when you fail when you're above your breakpoint and you make your command check, if you fail, the unit is removed. If you pass, they just fall back. Not quite sure if that situation will hold with these heavy vehicles. So if they pass, this tank or this heavy walker isn't really just going to kind of go like that. So what we're doing for the moment is if they fail this subsequent command check, this walker is removed from the game. It's basically sustained enough damage that it's effectively rendered useless. If it passes, it's not falling back, though it is damaged to the point where it needs to undergo some repairs, right? So until it removes sufficient breakpoints, then it actually can't operate. It can't move. It can't shoot. It's more or less a sitting duck. So we're going to see what happens. A 2 and a 9. So it passed its break check. It passed that check, rather, I should say. So it's not removed, though it is effectively disabled for the time being. So that's it for this turn. I think we'll get one more turn in and then call it a game. Okay, we're starting the next turn. This is probably going to be the last turn. I do want to point out a couple things here. Back to this infantry here. I kind of made them useless in the game, so they actually can't damage anything over here. One thing that's probably going to happen in the final army list for a lot of these sci-fi and World War II is we're going to assume that this isn't 2 or 3 guys running around per stand. This is a platoon, so there's probably 20 to 25 soldiers represented on this base. So really, we will most likely be assuming that every platoon is carrying some sort of heavy weapon capable of damaging even these heavy vehicles here. The walker here, we're not giving an order to, simply because it can't do anything this turn. So let's go on to this. We'll make this the last turn. So I've already issued orders. I'm going to roll initiative. 6 and a 9, an 8 and a 7. So that's 2 successes for both, though they have the individual highest roll with the 9. So they're gonna go first. All right. So it's going to stay put. Stay put. They're just going to move back over here and try to stay alive, since their dummy commander forgot to give them weapons that could actually do anything. Those are the only 2 units that can actually activate, so everyone else over here is just going to activate, and no one's really going to move. So we're just kind of getting bogged down and shooting at this point. Okay, so we're going to go on to combat. They activated first. And the only unit they have that can really do anything at this point is this walker. Again, remember, this walker is completely disabled at the moment. So I'm going to shoot at the tanks, at the heavy tanks with its light energy cannon. Armor defense is reduced to a 5. 2 successes. So my casualty check is now a 7. Too many dice there. And passed. So now all the tanks are going to go. So there's going to be a lot of shooting on this side. So we're going to start up here. They're just going to shoot at the right back at the walker with their heavy ballistic cannon. Armor is reduced down to a 3. There's 1 critical and 4 successes overall. So I need a 9. Well, there's 1 10, so that's all I needed, 1 success, and they got it. The second tank over here will shoot. That is 4 successes. So my casualty check is a 9, and there's a 9, so they passed. So these tanks are done. Oops, I keep grabbing the wrong thing there. All right, we'll go to these light tanks. Again, the chances of them actually damaging this walker is slim, but there's always a chance, I guess. Armor is a 7. Only 1 success out of all that. We expected at least 2. Casualty check is a 6. They passed, or the walker passed. The next tank. Oh, well, there's 3 successes there. We got 3 9s. My casualty check here is an 8. Passed. That's it for them. Let's go on to some medium tanks here with some medium ballistic cannons. Reducing the armor down, or the defense down to a 5. 3 successes. That means my casualty check is an 8. Passed. The other tank. Only 1 success out of that. That was a pretty terrible roll. Passed. I don't know why I keep grabbing the wrong item here. Guess once you do it one time, it becomes a habit. So go over here. Defense is reduced down to a 3. There's a critical, so that's an automatic break token. And we got 4 successes. So my casualty check is a 9. Passed. And the other tank. There is another critical. And we got 5 successes out of that. So I need a 10. I did not pass. So we'll ignore these for a moment. Just ignore those. So what I'm doing here is, again, I like to practice focused firepower. So even though this walker is disabled, if I just leave him alone, say all these tanks say, hey, we're done with him, let's go over here and target. There's a chance that at the end of the turn, he could, or we could say that this walker is repaired. You know, it passes its command checks, it gets rid of some of these dice, basically it rallies or repairs, and now it's right back in the game. Whereas here, I can continue to pour some firepower onto it to the point where the chance of it coming back anytime soon is slim. So that's what I'm doing here. If you're wondering why I keep shooting at something that's disabled, because I know this is a really difficult opponent, really difficult unit to take out. So I'm putting as many shells into this thing as I can to try to take it out of the game. Okay, so let's go back to its casualty check roll. My target number was a 10. None of them passed. When you're rolling toughness dice, if there's a failure, you basically, so there's no successes here. I'm just going to take its toughness dice out of there, because toughness dice can only benefit you. So that leaves us with its 2 regular dice. And the kill number for these cannons is a 4. So I rolled a 1 and a 3. So that's not only a failure, that's a kill. So now this walker is removed from the game. All right, so we're going to go on. Well, he still can shoot, because these rockets have a really long range. So that is still within short range. So they are, well, I'm sorry, let me one more time. Yes. So they have quite a long range. So this is still within short range for those rockets. Rolling 3 dice to attack. Its defense is now a 7. You remember, it starts it off at a 12. It gets a bonus +1 because this is an indirect fire. I do have forward observers here. I do have friendly units that can see it. So it's going to go from 12 to 13 because of that indirect fire, but then it's getting reduced by 6 because of the armor piercing for the rockets. So we're at a 7. And after all I said all that, no successes on the attack. So, all right, March. Nah, they're not going to do anything besides hide. They really couldn't shoot anything the last time. So we're going to go down to we're going to go to second missiles. He effectively can't shoot. You can say, if you wanted to, this is something you and your opponent would have to talk about before the game. We could say that he has line of sight over these vehicles, like he's just taller than the vehicles. I didn't really say anything about that beforehand, so I'm not going to do it now. So this Walker is going to shoot its heavy energy cannon here. That is going to be a short range. If I remember, yeah, what was the short range? So I'm getting 2 dice, and its armor, their armor is reduced down to a 2. So that is 5 successes. So I'm going to get 10. Here we go, 110. That's all I needed. So that's it for second missile. Let's go to the end turn. Take off our orders. Now we rally. We'll give them a chance. Passed. Give these tanks a chance. Passed. I only needed 1. And we'll give this Walker a chance. Passed. So we're going to call that the game. Keep in mind that some of the things you see in here may change just a bit, just because we're still trying to just make a few decisions of how we want to handle things with World War II and sci-fi. So this will be a great spot if you have any suggestions or comments. Please hit us up in the comments below. You can also check us out on our Facebook group. There's a link at the end of the video, and join up. And any questions or comments or suggestions about how we're handling sci-fi, and this will basically be how we handle World War II, please let us know. Thank you for watching.